Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda, and please welcome to our Operation Freedom platform, WeThePeopleProcessing.com. You know, are you tired of being threatened to be canceled just because you have a company focused on liberty and freedom? Well, worry no more, folks. WeThePeopleProcessing.com is your go-to merchant services, freedom-based company to provide business service payment solutions. We the People Processing provides their clients a cancel culture-free platform which is domestically based. They provide competitive rates, no contracts with next-day funding, a fully vetted and like-minded financial infrastructure, and full support for integrations, implementation, and e-commerce efforts. Bottom line, WeThePeopleProcessing.com focuses on defending your company's free market growth, values, and future. Check them out at www.WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Once you're on the site, enter in password Operation Freedom or call 855-499-2024. That's WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Then, when on the website, enter Operation Freedom as your password or call 855-499-2024.
Mr. President-elect,
go ahead.
Can you state
She's
categorically?
asking a question.
Mr. President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You are
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a
question.
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave versus the MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. You can join me every day, 24/7 at davejanda.com. Extra shows, extra content, extra analysis, extra guests, information I cannot bring to you on this channel, on this platform, on YouTube. Why? Because censorship is alive and well. Actually, it's flourishing. We can't even talk about much of this information on other channels, such as Rumble or the like. Even on my radio show, I can only go so far. Why? Because there are deep state operatives at all levels throughout the FCC and throughout the industry that block in-depth analysis. And this is why I have the website davejanda.com. I hope you'll join me there. We have the free, the public side, as well as the subscription side. But that's where we do the extra guests and the extra analysis, the extra shows. It's the biggest bang for the buck in all the internet. We hope you'll join our freedom family. Try it for a month. If you don't like it, get rid of it. But I'm not sure why. Because the information you get will say, and this is not an overstatement, will save your life. The information we've provided, just on one issue alone, since the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020, has saved people's lives. That's not an overstatement. It's fact. But I can't talk about it here or on Rumble or on the radio. And that's what we do, Today's topic, Biden and Harris, the Left Behind gang. What's been happening in Afghanistan is beyond horrendous. It's evil. And all those individuals out here in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor who said, I had no idea that they would just leave Americans behind in places. And frankly, the people who say that are ignorant. They're ignorant. Because this guy and Harris have a track record for cutting and running and protecting themselves and putting everybody else in harm's way. Let's go back to 2011. I recently had a good friend of mine, Victor Avila, on our radio show. Victor was an INS agent. And Victor went behind enemy lines in Mexico dealing with the drug cartels. In 2011, Victor Avila, and his partner, Jaime Zapata, were sent on a suicide mission by the Obama-Biden administration. And it ended up in Jaime Sabata getting killed and Victor getting shot 3 times with weapons that were procured through the Fast and Furious program that Obama and Biden and Eric Holder had signed off on, and getting armaments into the Mexican drug cartels. Does it sound familiar? Armaments falling into the Taliban, armaments falling into... Right. This is all predicted. And they... and Special Agent Zapata died. And Victor almost died. I recently had Victor on my radio show this past Sunday. We uploaded his interview here on YouTube on Monday. If you haven't seen it, heard it, you need to, and then you need to network it to anyone and everyone you know. They left them, Biden and Obama left them behind. And then when Victor survived, the Obama-Biden administration made his and his family's life a living hell. You would think he would have been honored for taking on the Mexican drug. No. They wanted to hide it because the arms used against him and his dead partner, Jaime Sabata, were from that Fast and Furious program. You see, they'll cut off Americans in a minute. And if you don't believe me in what happened in 2011, listen to that interview with Victor. And if you still don't believe him, just go away. You're hopeless. You're so propagandized if you don't believe what we're telling you that it's hopeless. That was 2011. It was a foreshadowing of what they were going to do in Benghazi. You know, that weapons running operation. Ooh, what's the recurrent theme here? That went bad? 4 Americans died, and there would have been dozens of Americans died if it weren't for Ty Woods or Glenn Doherty. If you don't believe me, watch the interviews I did on this platform that are still in our archives here under videos on this channel with Charles Woods, the father of Ty Woods. Dozens more Americans were left behind by the Obama-Biden administration with Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State because they had to cover up their weapons running operation. And then there are people that out there, I'm surprised that President, I can't even say it, that Joe Biden would leave Americans in Afghanistan with a... Come on. So now we have the 2021 version. People go back to 1979 through the beginning of 1981 with the Iran hostage crisis. There we had 52 Americans who had been left behind by the Jimmy Carter administration. This is why, while Joe Biden was a senior senator and was a foreign relations specialist that was involved in that whole goat rodeo, you think it was bad with 52 Americans that were taken hostage from November 4th, 1979, and then released on the day Ronald Reagan was inaugurated on January 20th, 1981? You think that was bad? Well, multiply it times thousands. Because that's what we're looking at in Afghanistan. Let me give you my bottom line on what is occurring. That the bought-off lamestream fake media tentacle of the deep state, of which Biden and Harris are puppets, as are the Joint Chiefs of Staff, are 99.9% of those in Congress. What's my bottom line on Afghanistan? All right, let's hit it. Trump, and give him credit for this, was stopping these endless and pointless foreign wars that enrich the globalist syndicate, right? That's what it's all about, right? The globalists create chaos, death, destruction. That's their business model. But out of it, they get more power, more control, and more money. Trump had an exit strategy based on a condition-based withdrawal with checks, verifications, and ramifications for non-adherence to the agreement. I have that from numerous high-level sources that were involved in the diplomatic community. The words are important because the documents that were created were based on a condition-based withdrawal with checks, verifications, and negative ramifications for these beasts if they took one step away from non-adherence. Understand, in the Middle East, they understand brutal force. That's all they get. And that was inherent in these agreements that the Trump administration has to set up. Biden, in his thugocracy of left-behinders, trashed the condition-based withdrawal, trashed the operations plan and logistics that had been set in place. This occurred early on. This occurred starting in February of 2021. We're seeing the ramifications of that. You can't even call it incompetence because it's intentional. What we're seeing today and will be seeing in the days and weeks ahead is exactly what the globalists want. Remember that. It's not an accident. This is not incompetence. Not incompetence. This is a planned takedown. This is about psyops. This is about demoralization. This is about bringing unvetted, untested individuals by the thousands into our country who potentially, according to diplomatic sources I know, will set up autonomous zones in certain cities around our country over the ensuing months. Think of it as, remember that thing in Seattle last year, CHOP? Think of this as being CHOP on steroids. I kid you not. This is about handing over weapons and armaments. Sound familiar? In Mexico, whether it's Benghazi, whether it's here in Afghanistan. And this is about allowing who's backing this Taliban to gain access to weapon systems, bases that were left behind, and natural resources. Yeah. Biden's plan, bottom line, in operation to date: abandon our allies, armed tens of thousands of Muslim terrorists, the Taliban, with billions of dollars worth of planes, helicopters, vehicles, weapons, ammunition, cash, and military bases, along with a fortified $800 million command and control center in our abandoned embassy. It has brought unvetted potential terrorists into our country, all while giving up thousands of Americans as hostages. I had an email, I've been back and forth with a very, very, very high-level former diplomat of our country. I will give you let me just read to you what I said and then what this individual said. I go, the State Department is now saying that there are 250 Americans left in Afghanistan. This is off the charts BS. There are many thousands. The State Department currently says that they've moved out 5,000 Americans. Well, that would leave, if they only moved out 5,000, that would leave 25,000, not 250, 25,000 Americans left behind since we had 30,000 Americans in Afghanistan less than a month ago. And the response of this former high level diplomat, they know, but they are lying. They know that there's not 250 Americans left behind, that there are many thousands, and they're lying. To top it off, Biden tells you that, well, all of the above, the giving of the arms, the left behind Americans, the unvetted potential terrorists coming to our shores, arming tens of thousands of the Taliban. He tells you that all the above, Harris too, all the above is not happening. All is fine and not a problem. Meanwhile, Harris is laughing about American hostages when she's asked about it. She did this recently in Singapore. Hey, and she's in Singapore on a Southeast Asia tour. By the way, I don't know if you saw it, but there she was. As Afghanistan and America is falling in, and look, I'm not for staying in Afghanistan, never have been. In fact, my word had been within 3 weeks, back in 2001, of us being there because of the brilliance of our Special Forces operations. We had that country buttoned up. But globalist George W. Bush and his daddy H.W. Bush, globalist extraordinaire, they weren't going to let that. You can't just do this in 3 weeks. No. How are we going to make all that money? How are we going to make billions and billions of dollars for us and our friends if we just make this in and out? Oh, no, we can't let that happen. So Harris was in Southeast Asia recently while all this was happening, laughing about American hostages being left behind. And there she was, I don't know if you saw the pictures, posing with statues of, kind of fitting, in the first name anyway, Ho Harris, who's known by many other names in Washington I won't go into. Harris in front of Ho Chi Minh's statues with pictures. Ho Chi Minh, she's having pictures in front of the communist who conducted genocide in Southeast Asia. You know what I want to know? You remember during the campaign there were 500 generals and admirals and former intelligence officials and former State Department officials who during the campaign wrote a letter of support and endorsement for Biden and Harris about how this is a new beginning and a wonderful thing. Really? Like Colin Powell and former CIA director, I think Tennant, some of these other clowns, globalist cacks. Where are they now? Brennan and Clapper, all these guys. Where are they now? About this new beginning. Oh, yeah, the globalists love it. Oh, nothing better than more chaos and crisis because what? You can't let a good crisis go to waste. Isn't that what we did a video on last week? Let me tell you something. Every one of these 500, if they held a military rank, even though they're retired, you can court-martial them. Bring them back, court-martial them. Strip all of these individuals of their retirement benefits and anything that is associated with their government service, if you want to call it that. More like selling everybody out. Every one of these 500 should have all of their benefits gone By the way, these same people that were endorsing Biden and Harris are the same people that for the past 20 years brought us this nightmare in Afghanistan, in Iraq. And we have 2,500 dead Americans in Afghanistan, over 20,000 injured permanently. My heart goes out to all those who served in Afghanistan, in Iraq. Because right now they're looking at this and going, my gosh, what do we do? Why did we put our lives on the line? Why did we sacrifice ourselves? Why did my friends die? Why am I missing an arm, a leg? Oh, why? I'll tell you why. Because the people that went there and served were and are and will always be incredible patriots that were fighting for freedom and liberty and every American's safety and security. And on behalf of millions of Americans, I thank each and every one of them. Their sacrifice is not only acknowledged, not only appreciated, but it's cherished by every one of us. The media is going to try to spin this a much different way. See, the media right now is running a psyops operation. Part of that is they want to demoralize the very people who serve there. We're not going to let that happen. We can't let that happen. Because ultimately, we're going to win this war against the deep state and their psyops operations. Meanwhile, Biden stands by Kabul evacuation. Oh yeah, great. Laughs when confronted with polls suggesting majority no longer see him as competent or effective. Speaking of laughing, Kamala Harris laughs when reporter starts to ask her about Americans trapped in Afghanistan. Top Democrat Rep John Garamendi, the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, told CNN it's, quote, not sensible, end quote, for the U.S. government to provide safe passage to the thousands of stranded Americans in Afghanistan trying to get to the Kabul airport. By the way, it's not just Dems. It's ours. Remember, one political party, the Republicans. They're all owned and operated by a criminal syndicate, whatever you want to call it. The New World Order, the Globalist Syndicate, the Deep State, the Criminal International Banking Syndicate, whatever it is. They're all owned. Because don't you believe, I believe, maybe you don't, but I do, that the Republican opposition on this has been beyond lame. Oh, I don't, McCarthy, oh, well, this isn't good. Stop it. The Republicans, if they're really opposition and not controlled opposition, which they all truly are, should be bringing up removal proceedings for Biden, Harris, Milley, the entire Joint Chiefs of Staff. They should be going through the State Department, the Department of Defense, you name it, down the line of who exactly went along with this left behind strategy by the thugocracy of Biden and Harris. Now, I'm going to tell you something. And I can't go into depth on this platform. However, many people say, well, we don't really think that there was anything there about organization to try to help or people there that were already set up. This from Raheem Kassam from the National Pulse. Response plan aimed at avoiding Benghazi-style evacuations just months before Taliban takeover. Biden's State Department moved to cancel a critical State Department program aimed at providing swift and safe evacuations of Americans out of crisis zones just months prior to the fall of Kabul. And this is 100% accurate, okay? I am very, very aware of an organization in the State Department entitled the Contingency and Crisis Response Bureau. It was called the CCR Bureau. Prior to that, it had been named OPMED. O-P-MED, M-E-D. The Contingency and Crisis Response Bureau, which was designated to handle medical, diplomatic, and logistic support concerning Americans overseas, was paused by Blinken's State Department earlier this year in the Biden administration. Notification was officially signed just months before the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan. It was my understanding, my knowledge, that in February, right after the installation happened in January of 2021, Biden and his thugocracy canceled, stripped the CCR Bureau, this Contingency and Crisis Response Bureau, okay, that does evacuations. They had the logistics set up in the Trump administration for the CCR to be integral in the evacuation process starting in February, and Biden and Harris nailed it, canceled it. Quote, sensitive but unclassified, end quote, an official State Department document, June 11, 2021, from the Biden State Department begins before outlining the following move to quash the Trump-era funding for the new bureau. The document is from the desk of Deputy Secretary of State Brian McKeon, confirmed in March by the United States Senate. The document is dated June 11, 2021. Though the National Pulse understands the decision to pause the program, this is true, I know for a fact, may have come as early as February 2021, both undermining the original Trump-era date for the withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan and certainly giving the Taliban time to threaten American assets and lives on the run-up to Joe Biden's September 11th date of withdrawal. Instead, Biden's team revoked the funding and the approval for the plan even as the COVID-19 crisis reasserted itself and Afghanistan withdrawal loomed. In a lengthy article from Vanity Fair, no less, in May of 2021, not exactly a right-wing rag, Vanity Fair, right? I think we'll all agree on that. They addressed this CCR Bureau. The Contingency and Crisis Response Bureau, CCR, also referred to in an overlap with a predecessor partner bureau called OPMED, is described as a little-known team of medics and miracle workers hidden deep within the United States Department of State. Goes on, quote, even before COVID reared its head, OPMED was finding ways to do all sorts of things, serving as the hidden hand behind daring and often dangerous operations to rescue Americans from peril abroad, end quote. The story in Vanity Fair, no less, goes on, quote, the Bureau of Medical Services Directorate of Operation, or OPMED, as we call it, is a lifeline for the Department of State and the American people. Though perhaps lesser known outside of the department, it's vital to our operations. That's because OPMED provides the platform and personnel to save American lives around the world, especially in times of crisis. During the early stages of the coronavirus pandemic, for example, OPMED was integral to our evacuation and repatriation of 100,000 Americans to the United States as countries began locking down their borders, end quote. That is all true. And that was one of the hubs which was going to be scheduled to be implemented operationally in February in moving out Americans and vetted, known Afghan supporters of the American presence there. And the logistics were all in place. And starting in February, it was stopped. Mm-hmm. Not just in June, when the official memo came out. February. And what we're seeing now are the willful ramifications of Biden and Harris and Blinken and Austin, the Secretary of Defense, and Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, all the Joint Chiefs of Staff, all of the hierarchy of the Pentagon and the State Department And that's what we're seeing. And what do we have? We have a weapons running operation that was handed to terrorists. Again, nothing new with these guys. And we have Americans by the thousands, documented from my sources, that were left behind and are now hostages, if not worse. What do we do? Here's what we do. The globalists despise fear transparency. They fear our numbers. We have them outnumbered. Huge. What you need to do is not sit on the couch. You need to take this information that I just provided you and other independent sources and network it to anyone and everyone you know. The more people that are educated with the facts and reality then become empowered. And when empowered, is the single greatest way we end this reign of terror by the deep state. So your role in this bucket brigade of truth and reality is to take this information and get it to anyone and everyone you know and love. Because they're surely not going to get it through the bought-off lamestream fake media that's a tentacle of the deep state. I thank you for your time today. I hope you join us for the radio show every Sunday, 2 to 5 Eastern. You can listen live and free. Just go to davejanda.com, hit the listen live button. You're with us. Great guests, great analysis. But I hope you'll also become a member of our Freedom family and go to davejanda.com and subscribe, where I go into much greater depth which information which could well save your life and your family's life. Not an overstatement, not hyperbole. Fact. Just talk to some of our subscribers, all of our subscribers. They'll tell you. I thank you for your time. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Take care.